it's Robin Schneider with another episode recap for Doctor Who Online. This week we're discussing the two-part finale, the Pandorica Opens, and the Big Bang. I have to admit, I thought this season of Doctor Who was leading up to something horrible and tragic. The cracks in time and space, the bleak childhood of Amy Pond, Rory's erasure from existence, even the Van Gogh episode. I was certain it wasn't going to end very well, and I was afraid for the Doctor to finally meet this big horrible enemy who was causing the silence and the cracks in time and space. And then, well, we got a box. I kind of feel as though Stephen Moffat was playing a prank on us throughout the season. One of those awful practical jokes where, in the end, the Joker is laughing while you sort of stand there and sputter at the indignity. Right, so the first part of the season finale, the Pandorica Opens. We see a series of characters from this season's past episodes all meshing together over a Van Gogh painting, in which Vincent has painted the TARDIS exploding. Then we've got the Doctor and Amy going on an adventure to decipher the writing written on the oldest cliff face in existence, which leads us to the Romans, which leads us to Underhinge and the Pandorica. What I loved? The echoes of Indiana Jones. The Romans, because who doesn't love Romans? The Doctor's speech where he's yelling at all of the spaceships, daring them to challenge him and his sonic screwdriver. And it seems as though they're all reconsidering and he's saved the day with a lot of shouting. Rory, the Nestine plastic Roman. When he saves Amy from the Cybermen and the Doctor is all, "Oh yeah, Rory, that was pretty good. I mean, oh, Rory's back!" When the Doctor tells him to be brave, when he makes Amy remember, and when he's fighting against the Nestine consciousness to remain Rory. He was like, "Thou shalt not put the Imperious curse on me!" And the absolute tragedy of Rory losing his struggle for autonomy and shooting Amy. What I didn't like? How there wasn't an enemy waiting for the Doctor in the Pandorica. It felt like too much build-up for a payoff that never came. Essentially, I liked the twist in theory, but I felt the execution was slightly off. I'm also not a fan of River, but I do have my theories, mainly that she's totally the Doctor, like Doctor number 15. Maybe I'm just distracted by her hair, I don't know. She's like a particularly annoying plot point, and I'd rather have Torchwood or Unit show up in her place. Also, the exploding TARDIS. It was just so inevitable. Obvious. Especially the heavy-handed hints that River Song was going to be the one flying it. And I think they've wasted Stonehenge on this story. The concept of Stonehenge marking something powerful buried beneath is a great one. But there was already so much going on in this episode that it really just didn't get the attention it deserved. However, despite this episode's lack of payoff on the big bad enemy, it was a fantastic setup for what was hands down my favourite episode of the season, the Big Bang. Oh, the Big Bang. Such a lot of wibbly-wobbly timey-wimey. What I love about Doctor Who is that it's a show about a time traveller who sometimes arrives in the stickiest of situations and manages to save everyone with a sonic screwdriver, a lot of wit, and a little bit of brilliance. But the time traveller aspect of the Doctor is to me the least utilised. A lot of the time he's like a space-travelling science fiction version of Crestomancy. But here we truly got to see how the Doctor doesn't experience events in their normal chain of causality. What I loved. The interactions between little Amelia and Amy Pond. Amy in the Pandorica! Rory. I think for most of the season there's been a bit of a bafflement between the Amy-Rory relationship and a sort of underground hope that Amy and the Doctor would get together and become more than just friends. I've always really liked Rory, the second choice, the nurse to the Doctor. The one who needed saving and bossing, two things that Amy is exceptionally good at doing. However, in the span of 10 minutes, Moffat managed to turn Rory into an unlikely hero. After shooting Amy against his will and nearly causing her death, Rory is able to do the one thing for her that the Doctor could never do. He doesn't abandon her. For 2,000 years, he guards the Pandorica, staying by her side and keeping her safe and waiting. So not only is Rory absolutely devoted to Amy, he's also made of Nestine plastic with a gun for a right hand. So instead of boring Nurse Rory from Ledworth, he's now an immortal piece of alien plastic who has lived through most of civilization waiting for Amy. I also loved how history started to slide into an alternate version and there weren't any stars. And the bits where we saw the Doctor jump back in time from the future perspective were also fantastic. The moment he put on the fez, I was like, now find yourself a mop and go back in time and console Roman Rory. Ah, the fez. I think Matt Smith's dearest ambition in life is to get wardrobe to approve a hat. And I know you're all tired of Harry Potter references, but seriously, how Deathly Hallows was it when the Doctor accepted his death by creating Big Bang 2 only to wind up waking up in a strange sort of limbo? Anyway. I also loved how the scene from the Weeping Angels episode made sense when the Doctor went back along his timeline. And the story he told little Amelia as he tucked her into bed. And the something old, something new, something borrowed and something blue bit. Absolutely genius. I'll never be able to think of the phrase in the same way again, and I can't begin to express my admiration for the sheer brilliance of that plot point. Really, there aren't many dislikes from this episode, or, well, any. The wedding was perfect, especially with the doctor showing up in an opera scarf and a top hat, and Amy's parents were so cute, and the dancing. Although, I do wish that the silence had been explained, but I suppose if they're continuing with the same characters next season, having a multi-season plot arc does work, but still. In the end, I really loved it. I'm glad that Amy and Rory are staying on as companions, although I definitely prefer Nestine duplicate Rory to Nurse Rory. And it will be strange to see how his and Amy's relationship changes. Karen Gillan was phenomenal as always. And I think that Matt Smith has definitely shown that he is not a pale imitation of David Tennant, but rather a fresh, quirky, eccentric reboot. And in the case of Nestine Plastic, sometimes the replacement is far more compelling, albeit in a different way from the original. Question for the comments. What are your thoughts on this season of Who? You can let me know below or on Doctor Who Online. Thanks for watching.